I've seen talk online about how the Switch 2 only costs about $330 USD in Japan, and that isn't fair. That Nintendo is giving special treatment to its home market and screwing over others to make up for it. So, let's take a quick look into some information regarding this, and see if that's really the case. In Japan, the Switch 2 will cost 49,980 yen, and that includes the 10% sales tax. With current exchange rates, that's $349.25 in USD. In the United States, as far as we know right now, the Switch 2 will cost $449.99. Adding on some sales tax, 7% for example, the price is about $481.49. That's a difference of about $130. In other words, the Switch 2 will cost about 37.9% more in the United States than in Japan. If we stop right here, it certainly doesn't seem like fair pricing. So let's continue on. The average monthly income per household in Japan in February 2025 was 571,993 yen. So, buying a Switch 2 would cost a household about 8.74% of its monthly income. In 2023, the median yearly household income in the United States was $80,610. Dividing by 12, we get a monthly income of $6,717.50. A Switch 2 in the US would cost a household about 7.17% of its monthly income. Now the picture is starting to get a little clearer, with these numbers showing that a Switch 2 costs more in terms of percentage of income in Japan than the United States. However, these numbers are not perfect, being a mix of averages and medians, a random example sales tax of 7% for the US market, and the income data being taken from different years. On top of that, and perhaps more importantly, is the fact that housing costs, among other things, are much cheaper in Japan. So, paying more of your income for a Switch 2 might not feel as bad when much less of your income is going towards things like rent. Then why hasn't Nintendo priced the Switch 2 even higher in Japan? That brings me to what I believe is the most important factor in all of this: price elasticity. Basically, price elasticity measures that when the price of a product rises, the quantity demanded falls. I'm sure that Nintendo has thought long and hard about how high they can raise the price without significantly lowering demand. And here are the numbers. In the US, the Switch is $299.99, and the Switch 2 will be $449.99. That is a price increase of 50% on hardware. Software will be hitting a new high end of $79.99 from the previous $69.99, a price increase of about 14%. People have been vocal about their disapproval of the software price increase, so we'll see if Nintendo miscalculated there. In Japan, the Switch costs 29,980 yen, and the Switch 2 will cost 49,980 yen. That is a price increase of 66.7% on hardware. High-end software is going from 7,900 yen to 9,980 yen, an increase of about 26%. I don't think that many people in Japan are too surprised or outraged about the software price increase, as many games on other platforms were already releasing for this price, compared to Nintendo shooting above the norm in the United States. But we're supposed to be looking at the hardware here. The 50% price increase in the US isn't something to ignore, but I think most people don't have a problem with it after seeing what the Switch 2 can do. A 66.7% price increase in Japan, however, is starting to reach a line where, for an expensive non-essential good, the customer is getting a bad taste in their mouth. And the psychology of the customer is really the most important thing. That's what marketing is all about. They've drawn the line at 66.7%. This is why Nintendo is having to sell a special Japanese language only model in Japan, because at that 66.7% line, we get a price in USD that is much lower than the United States' MSRP. You can look at the other model they will be selling in Japan, a multi-language one that costs 69,980 yen. That's $486.53 USD, a price much closer to the US one. But that would be a 133.4% increase in price for the Japanese market, which would end in total disaster. In the end, Nintendo is a business and has to make a profit. I personally don't know how much it costs them to manufacture a Switch 2 in China or Vietnam. So, there is absolutely no way we could figure out profit margins on these things. But at these prices, who knows? Maybe they could be planning to sell to the Japanese market at a slight loss, and make up for it with a profit from the United States market. Of course, the recent tariff talks could have threatened those margins, which is why they decided to put a hold on the pre-orders in the United States and Canada. All we can really do is look at what facts we have and speculate on the rest. I'm not saying what Nintendo is doing is right or wrong. You can form your own opinion for how you feel about this pricing situation, but please keep as much information in mind as you can while doing so. Let me know what you think, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.